All right, my watch list for Thursday. Let me make sure that's right. Yeah, for Thursday. URI goes on bounce watch. You can see here it came down a long way to pierce these October lows. You got a little bit of a bottoming tail and kind of a quiet inside day today. I still think this one, especially if the market bounces tomorrow, I still think this one could bounce. It's starting to put in, on 15-minute candles, starting to put in higher lows and starting to find some support between 88 and 90. So what I'd like to see is it trade in a narrow range for a while tomorrow and then break to the upside. I bet we could get a nice trade. An example of that would be like KORS today. It was one of the calls I made in chat. A little bit different than the URI, but just an example of what we look for on a bounce play. Take today's candle out. I just had KORS on watch in case this selling was overdone, and you can see what it did today. On an intraday basis, 5-minute candles here, it looked just like this when I called it in the chat room today. So this was the gap down high from yesterday, and this was the opening, like the 10-minute high today. See a little cup and handle, and I just called it long over this little tight base here. My long idea was 68, let me get this right, 68.26 with the stop 68.10. So it doesn't get much tighter than that on a stock like that. There's the trigger, and it was grinding higher all day, went all the way to 70.05. So almost $2 in our favor on 16 cents risk. That's an example of what I would look for in something like a URI tomorrow. Now, will it do that? I have no idea. If it doesn't give me some kind of clean setup, I just won't trade it. But URI does go on bounce watch tomorrow. ADXS. You know, this one, it looks extended to me, but man, it's holding up so well, and it held up really well when the market was selling off that I really want to watch this, especially if it breaks Wednesday's high on Thursday, over 945. You can see just to the left of that, you've got a high of 975 from about a week before that. So I definitely want to watch ADXS for a trade. NRX. Somebody actually yelled at me for calling this today in chat. And I called it when it looked like this. After that huge, let's go back to this real quick. After that huge 23 million share day about a week ago, normally I wouldn't call something that trades as thin as this thing does, but it had 23 million shares the other day and then down to the 8-day. So then my thinking was, if it can get through 9, it should take out the high of the day, and maybe they pour back in. Okay, so my call was 910, like 890, something like that. Triggered, broke the high of the day. You see the volume coming in, but it just never did anything and ended up closing near its highs. Somebody yelled at me for calling such a stock, and I said normally I would never call something that thin, except for about a week ago it traded 20-something million shares. Anyway, 2-minute candles after hours, the things went up through 11. So unfortunately, it didn't do that for us during the day. But I told everybody that it wouldn't have surprised me at all after watching the market action lately to have this thing just rip to $10 right after it broke the high of the day. And it just didn't. But then in after hours, I guess it had news. So timing wasn't perfect there, but none of us, we were never underwater after the entry. Anyway, I do want to have that on watch because of the after hours action. It didn't do much today. It is a handsome, handsome's not the right word, but it is an interesting chart because of the massive volume. And then the 4 or 5 days down, a little hammer candle, and then action in after hours. And it looks to be settling in around $11. So this could be one to watch tomorrow. That'll go on my gap play watch list. And just real quick, ARNA is an example of how stocks can move lately. These lower volume, normally lower volume biotechs. And remember NDRM, huge move the other day. So with those in mind, NRX to me made sense. We just didn't get lucky and get that huge pop, but does deserve to be on watch. Tomorrow might be the day, right? BCLI, again, along that same vein, over 20 million shares the other day. Hasn't broken a previous day's high since that, but it's starting to kind of find its footing too. So I want to put BCLI on bounce watch. Doesn't cost you anything to have these on charts, and if they give you the proper setup, you can get a nice trade. CYTR, kind of the same deal, 15 million shares, and it's finding buyers down here, holding above the 200-day. So this one is interesting for a possible upside move tomorrow. Ended up closing near its highs. Let's see, I just did that one, CYTR. FOX. This one's getting fast to the downside, has some price action to the left from November, and the 200-day is right here. And when the candles keep growing like this, and then you get big volume, it becomes interesting, and the 200-day becomes interesting for potential bounce. DKS, possibly rumors or talk about them maybe going private, and had a huge pop today. Now, I'm not going to chase that tomorrow, but I do want to have it on an intraday chart. Might get something out of it. Same deal with AMBA. It feels like chasing, but very strong and closed at its high, so I want to watch AMBA tomorrow. PENN pretty much broke a flag pattern on the daily. You can kind of see it there. I didn't draw that very well, but anyway, broke that on decent volume. And so I want to watch for maybe some follow through, maybe a retest and a break above these highs. As PENN and Owens Corning OC is my last one. And again, we'll find gappers in the morning as well. OC is kind of interesting, kind of a cup and handle. Nice volume today. Looks like it wants to go higher from here. And speaking of gappers, again, ARNA. I blew this one today because I had it on my gap play watch list. And look how just clean that was. It gapped up. Sellers came in on the second 5, and then it took off. And then this line was the pre-market high. So you could have just bought on the break of the pre-market high. And I was preoccupied because I called Loco early over 23. And Loco went in 10 minutes went to 24. I had a nice trade in that one. But unfortunately, messing with Loco, I missed, trade of the day. And that's going to happen. But wow, things are moving like crazy. So if you have a chance to trade at all tomorrow, if you're a member or not a member, whatever, make sure you put some of these on charts tomorrow, because the market's been pretty good. It's been, pretty good movement. And intraday reversal plays are working well in addition to these gap plays. All right, so that's it. I'll quit babbling and have a good night, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.